You're not gonna tell me what to do.
Welcome to Big Brother Basics, where we break down the basics of Big Brother 18. My name is Jacob Harple, and joining me is the always fantastic, always fabulous Keith Guerrero. Keith, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me in Joe's apartment.
You're welcome. Also joining with us is the always erratic, always ecstatic Aaron Nunley. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. And also thank you for having me in Joe's apartment.
Yes. And let's not forget our very special guest. He's the jazzy, the classy Joe Gonzalez. Joe, how are you doing today?
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thanks for letting us film in your apartment.
Oh, it's no problem. I mean, it's really great lighting, and I think it's a great idea.
Me too. All right, so anyway, we've got a lot to talk about, guys. We've got the 2-night premiere of Big Brother 18. So much to get started. Joe, as a whole, especially in these last couple of seasons, how do you rank this premiere next to the other ones?
You know, I think this is actually the most interesting intro night, two-night premiere that we've had in a while. Mostly because the cast, while there's no one super incredible to root for, you can root against quite a few of them, and they're all pretty entertaining, even though they're not that smart.
Yeah.
So, with seeing a 2-night intro of them, then really getting to know one another before someone leaves the house was a great idea.
I agree, and we'll definitely get into how stupid these house guests are in a couple minutes, but Keith, we kind of speculated this during our cast assessment video, but we didn't want to say anything until we were super sure. But it looks like, in fact, we are getting 4 returning house guests. Let's talk about those first. So, Keith, let's get your reaction on the 4 people that came back.
Okay, so we have Frank, we have Da'Vonne, we have James, and we have Nicole. I don't understand why any of them are returning back to the game. I see them all making the same mistakes that got them that 7th place mark. And why is Da'Vonne back? That's what I want to know. I don't understand what she did. She got evicted week 2 for her to earn a second chance in this game. It has to be her Twitter following. That's the only thing that I could think of that would warrant her another spot in the game. Because even in the first night, she's already making the same mistake. She's saying she's not here to play games. She doesn't want to adapt to the twists that are being brought into the Big Brother house. I'm like, you're proving why you got evicted week 2, Da'Vonne, and you're about to prove it again this game. So I want to go into her. Just let me know when.
You know when they had that prize in the first competition where it's like automatic 2 weeks of safety or whatever, Da'Vonne's like, I gotta give me that. I need it. I gotta beat my placement. Aaron, as far as the returners go, who are you most excited to see come back?
Personally, I like Da'Vonne the most. And that would be because of the reason that she actually got on the show is because of her personality and because of her perceptiveness. I really believe that because of the way that she thinks, and just her entertainment value is the reason why she got on the show, Keith. I don't even follow her on Twitter. I did when she was on the show, but it wasn't even that.
You give her this compliment and you just knock her back down.
I just don't follow BB people when it's not BB time. It's just the thing. I'm not too excited about Nicole just because of the whiny nature that she had her whole season. I mean, I'm sure you can say the same thing about Da'Vonne, but Da'Vonne was just more interesting for me to actually watch because she can actually pick up on things, and Nicole can win competition and then kind of destroy her own game with that win. And then Frank and James are kind of just there for me. Literally, James is just there to win America's Favorite again. And then Frank is going to win competitions after a while just because he needs it to survive. So, I mean, Frank is probably the one that I think is going to be the most interesting to watch throughout the season. But besides that, Da'Vonne.
Yeah. Joe, do you think we're going to see much change in these vets' gameplay? Is there anyone out of these 4 that you think is going to play a really different game? Or do you think for the most part they're all going to kind of fall into the same style that they did their first season?
I think that you'll see Da'Vonne, James, and Nicole play very similarly to the way they did. But Frank has had a lot more time to process, watch more seasons of Big Brother. He's been more active in the community, but he doesn't go to a bunch of big events. He's he's there. I think he's going to slow down and he's going to make sure that he's going to probably play up that he's a little older now, that he's not as, physically fit as some of these newbies.
He has that dad bod.
He's got that dad bod now. So he also lost the carrot top, so people aren't going to hate him. as he goes
They might not even recognize
They
him.
might even, is this really Frank? Is this really Frank?
He pops out of the box and like,
Right. But I think out of all four of them, Frank will probably have the most success.
I could see that. So let's talk about this Twisto's twist of a night. We were introduced to the team twist, kind of like the click twist back in Big Brother 11. Keith, what was your reaction to that twist? Do you think it's interesting? Do you think it kind of helps the veterans maybe have a fighting chance in this game?
I thought it was interesting. I'm not against it completely. I did like that they didn't allow the vets to decide the entire team. I thought that was a good call because they don't deserve it. And I think that the way that it was picked too, like you already could see where you stand in the house. Especially Paulie, like Paulie, no, I am Paulie, no, Paul, like Paulie must have felt some type of way, and then Glenn being the last pick, like he knows where he stands inside the house. So I think it was a very interesting first night. It got people's minds going. It's the game starting to begin, and it's a double-edged sword because like you're as strong as your weakest link, and then when it's down to your last team you're competing, you're having to go against each other like individually. So you have to work together, but then also think, okay, I have to beat these people too.
Right.
So it's a nice little dynamic.
Aaron, back in BB11 when we had the clicks, we kind of saw the strategy where a lot of people aligned with and got along with people that were outside of their team or their clique, so that way they could, they wouldn't have to worry about the people on their team, because if they won, obviously they wouldn't nominate them. Do you think that this cast is probably going to go more in that direction, or are we going to see kind of a newbie veteran dynamic?
I'm so glad you asked me this because
You're welcome.
when the people were actually picking their teams, I don't think that people were thinking like that. With a twist like this, that kind of is similar to a previous twist, you should be able to quickly adapt with the mistakes that people made in that previous season. I feel like you should want to have all of your allies from the get-go be on different teams. So when Davon picked Paul, I feel like the last person that Paul should have picked should have been Zakia. I don't think they should be on the same team because she can't nominate you if she's in your group. So you need her safety elsewhere in a different group. And I feel like a lot of people did that and we're just picking I let my friend is here,
Yeah.
let's be on the same team. Yeah, but if your friend was going to nominate you and your friend can't nominate you now, what's the point? You test them in another group. So I feel like it's definitely going to just be a newbie versus vet thing until somebody, Paul, screws things up, and I don't know.
Yeah, let's talk about Paul for a second, because if you watched our cast assessment video, you would know that we were pretty off on Paul. He's been a crazy person.
Anything but chill.
Anything but chill. Joe, what was your reaction of Paul? Because
I was excited. Watching this, what we weren't expecting and is completely different. And I think he has some merit. Obviously, yes. The veterans do need to go because veterans do well in returning seasons. It's just something that happens.
do you think that's going to hurt him, though, to be so aggressively against the veterans? Do you think that's going to kind of limit his gameplay and force him into a corner?
Yes. He definitely has put himself in a box, and he's not really looking to get out of that box. That box is going to be shipped right outside the video.
Cool. So let's talk about the other twist that we experienced.
There was another twist?
There was another twist.
Wow.
The fact was that someone was going to essentially get jodied. By the end of the premiere, we were going to lose someone immediately. But it was a little different than the twist they did in BB14. And I actually kind of liked the way that they did it. Keith, what did you think about the fact that they were essentially going to whittle it down to one team and then have one last competition and then that person would go? What was your reaction?
100% competition based. If you wanted to come in and throw competitions, you can't do it just yet. You have to prove your worth right now.
Or you could just make sure you're on one of the winning teams earlier. But yeah.
Or you could throw competitions and get eliminated.
Yeah, I felt really bad for Glenn, and we'll get more into this.
Will we?
Mostly because he was the last person picked on his team, so he didn't really have a say on which team he was on. And, you know, being eliminated like that sucks, but I am glad that he at least, you know, he had a couple of chances to save himself. Aaron, let's talk about Glenn in the second competition that they did, the one with the sandcastles. So obviously they were close to winning, but a mistake that he had pointed out earlier in the competition about the base being wrong ended up hindering them and cost them a win essentially. What do you think? Like, do you think that's just bad luck for Glenn?
He pointed it out. He like whispered it to like Corey. Like when you know something, like you're fighting for your life, and you know something is wrong, you need to be scream at every single person on that team. You need to be telling everybody. Like I understand he's older, he doesn't want people to hate him, but you also don't want to go home. So I need you to be like more aggressive. Corey doesn't know anything. Corey doesn't look like he knows anything. So like I don't know why you wouldn't be more aggressive to be like, okay, these colors don't match. Do we want to go home or do we want to win? Like you need to step up. And I think that was his downfall. Like really, it's just not stepping up because he was right. Like they would have won. They were like in the lead. Like the whole time.
It looked like it was pretty close, and they just kind of the other team swept away with it. Joe, what was your reaction to Glenn leaving? Were you sad? Were you unhappy? Were you happy? Were you sad?
Check
Were you happy?
I was a little sad, mostly because I think that he would have been someone that would have also been, you know, pretty much against the returnees. He wouldn't have been an immediate target for most, and he would have been able to rally some of the newbies so they can stick against these veterans. But now that he's gone, that hope is a little bit lower now, and I think that the competition, while it wasn't really tailored for him, he's definitely had a chance to win.
Yeah.
The strategy for him and Corey was not good at the beginning.
Yeah.
They should have done. The minute I saw that competition, I would have done exactly what Tiffany did. So, sorry. Glad you made it on the show, but at least you had a little more time than Jody in the house.
That's true.
Something I have to say though about like Glenn really quickly is like you can tell their team dynamic wasn't team unity when they didn't even help Glenn up on the rocket. Did you see Glenn struggle trying to like hop onto the rocket by himself? Corey is 6'5". He could at least like help boost Glenn up to the rocket.
I need a little boost.
I know it's an individual competition, but don't be a dick. God, like help somebody out,
man.
So I knew from that team dynamic like things were awkward. Yeah, he's an odd person.
He was odd man out. Let's talk about Tiffany and Pauly, because obviously it's an interesting night because they are related to previous players. I was definitely wondering how that whole dynamic would go. Keith, let's discuss how Pauly handled his situation and how Tiffany handled. So, what did you think the way that Pauly revealed the fact that he was related to a previous player?
I think Pauly doing it, obviously there's risk involved, but it's going to come out eventually. He has a tattoo, Calafiore, on his body. Might as well get the cat out of the bag. And, you know, somebody already returned into the game. You know, he has that buffer already. So he's like, okay, now's the time. There's people in the game that already could have targets. I'm Cody's brother. Done. Don't have to think about it again. Can start playing the game. I think he handled it very, very well. And then we zoom in on Tiffany's face, who's just like, holy crap. Like, I did not anticipate somebody else having a sibling from a previous...
You didn't expect the unexpected.
You didn't expect the unexpected, girl. So she was like, do I say it? You could just read it in her face. Like, she's just like zoned it. Like, she is in her own world at that moment. And she choked. She decided not to say anything. All the veterans come in, days go by, and she ended up being discovered by a super fan and by Mama Day. So, like, I don't know if I would have confided that information to Mama Day. I liked how her and Michelle's conversation went because it sounded more mutually beneficial. But you don't trust, you should not trust any of the veterans, Tiffany. So I was a little disappointed that she confided in Mama Day because, ooh, Davon is playing the game. She's playing the game since day one.
Yeah. Do you think that's going to hurt Tiffany in the long run, Aaron, the way that she handled it? Or do you think it's not really going to matter?
It depends on how it, like, falls out to everybody else. Because we still have, I don't know how many people who don't know. So it depends on how they find out about it. Although, like, Cody's... Okay, Cody. Look, I'm already doing it. Pauly is like in the clear with the way that he revealed that he was Cody's brother,
Yeah.
they let him off the hook. Like, they let him off the hook so much. Because I would have been right there with Jose, like, you didn't tell us that you were Cody's brother before the vets came out. You saw vets and then you did it. You literally, I can see what you're doing. You're using them as a buffer. But it's the newbies and they're throwing each other under the bus and running around like crazy people. So
Yeah.
that's going to happen. But it really depends on how Tiffany, how she spills the beans, or the beans just get spilled to other people in the house. Cause,
My beans!
I mean, no one really has said anything bad about Polly being related to.
There was the thing
Cody.
that Paul said that he thought it was convenient that,
Oh, yeah.
which
But
I think that
Paul
was.
says a lot of stuff. So.
Yeah, Paul's pissed off at someone different every 5 minutes.
So that's why I don't
That's
trust it.
not
But
as
I
big
feel
a
like
deal.
if it gets spilled, the Tiffany one, it could be a little bit more harsh just because of how late it was spilled and that it's Vanessa versus Cody.
Right.
So
Well, let's talk about the HOH. So Nicole becomes the first HOH, and it's essentially after Corey and Tiffany just kind of give it to her. Joe, do you think that was a good move for Corey and Tiffany? And do you also think it was a good move for Nicole to secure that first HOH?
Nicole absolutely needed this HOH, like, without a doubt. Like, she needs to protect her veteran alliance without exposing that there's a veteran alliance, which is stupid. But I think that she definitely needed it more than those two. Corey doesn't need it. Corey's excited to compete next week. Tiffany definitely just wanted to stay, so I'm pretty sure she was still in shock after she was able to survive in that competition and not be, the first
Glenn.
boot. But Nicole definitely needed it, and seeing what she's going to do this week will prove whether or not she deserves a spot to come back, in my mind.
Yeah. Let's kind of talk about the events that led up to her nomination. Before we get to the whole pond situation, I want to talk about the conversation that we saw between Josiah and Davon. I talked to you earlier today about this, Keith, and I really thought
Wow.
I really thought that your opinion on the situation was interesting. So kind of let's hear your thoughts on that conversation and Davon's choice.
My whole thing is like the only reason I think Jose told that to Davon was because they're on the same team. You know, like Davon and her team created a deal. Davon looks after the newbies on the veteran side. The newbies looked after Davon on the newbie side. So in my opinion, when Jose was telling Davon, it was in confidence. She was doing it for Davon's benefit. When he listed off the veterans in the pecking order, he was doing it with the understanding that Davon is who they're going to protect. But I don't think it was necessarily a good move from Davon to take that information and give it to Nicole immediately, because that puts her team members at risk. So it could put her team membership from 4 to 3. You don't know if like more people could be beneficial in these future challenges. You don't know what's going to happen, and Jose is a pretty strong competitor, so you're losing that. And I don't know. I think Davon, she put the veterans' well-being ahead of her own by going to Nicole with this information. It's good to have people that are targeting people that aren't you. If you're at the bottom of that list in the veteran, ride that out, but I think her taking Jose and giving it to Nicole is going to shoot Davon a little bit in the foot.
Honestly, don't think that list could have been like true. Why would he tell her that she was on the top of the list to go? Like if I'm telling Joe about people who are going, I'm not going to say, Joe, you're the first one on my list. I'm going to say, Joe, you're the last one on our list.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and like always, we don't know the edit timing. So this could have happened before
Nicole's
HOH.
HOH. Yeah.
So like while I think Davon could have kept it for a little bit, we still don't know when she got the information and when she gave it to Nicole. But I don't 100% necessarily believe that was the correct pecking order, just because. I mean, Nicole could be at the top, like for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if like Davon was really going to be the last one there. I mean, right after they made the deal with their
Team.
big sister, they talked about how like whatever, Davon, you're just another returner, which I'm using the term returner, not veteran. But yeah.
Interesting. Joe, what did you think of this situation?
Well, I think that, again, like Aaron said, depending on the edit, when it happened and things like that, from what we saw, it seems like it happened after Nicole was HOH, in which case I think it's a stupid move if it happened after. If you're talking to someone about pecking order when you're not the HOH, really shouldn't be doing that, especially to someone that's, even if you don't think they're aligned, they're still all returners. So don't do that.
Not to mention pecking orders in week 1. There's no point for that. You really don't need to do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Josiah has a lot going on in his mind. So he probably, I mean, right before he said he was the messiah of the newbies. So I don't know why he would want to label him like that, but I don't know.
It's
It's possible that he did tell
We all have labels.
we're all labels. So I don't know. I don't know if he was telling her with the intention or if he was just kind of bragging. I don't know. Who knows what's going
Sometimes
on?
you just need to
But
think in your head instead of out loud to a
yeah,
possible enemy.
Yeah.
who knows? But what we do know is that Josiah is definitely in trouble this week. That information was taken right to Nicole. He's the number 1 target for Nicole. Now, if I'm Nicole, I think my strategy would be to put up Josiah, of course, and then think, okay, what's an extension of Josiah that I could probably just put up next to him? But instead,
Why would Nicole do that?
why would Nicole do that? She decides to do something completely different. She has a conversation with Paulie. She wants to put him up on the block as a pawn. I guess I still don't understand why. But let's talk about that, Aaron. What did you think about that entire conversation where Paulie was essentially Johnny Mac?
He literally was Johnny Mac. Like, even the fighting, like, oh, sometimes the pawns go home. Like, it wasn't.
They don't go home.
I'm personally really, really tired of people being pawned and it being the pawn versus like 7 different people in the room. Like, it literally, if you're gonna ask someone to be a pawn, like, have just the HOH and the person's gonna be the pawn. Like, I don't like the
Right, yeah.
like, oh yeah, like
Mob
we're totally
mentality.
You would be a great
like,
pawn.
like, what do you say against that? Like, I really hate that. I don't even care for Polly that much, but I just don't like when people are basically bullied. Like, they're kind of bullied into just being like to be okay with it. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's the smartest thing. I do think, even though I just like tore everybody up about picking the wrong teams, like keep picking your friends, I think when people like Paul, Zakia, and Jose on the same team, they can talk together and it look okay because they're on the same team, rather than if they were on different teams and they're talking together, then it looks like allies rather than teammates. So if they were on different teams, then you might be like, okay, they're allies, so I can put 2 of them up. But now since they're on the same team, you don't actually know if they're allies or they're just teammates or whatever. So I think that kind of helped her, I guess, or helped them, so that she wouldn't nominate 2 people from that team. Because I mean, Zakia would have been an okay choice, like really. But I don't know, Nicole. I understand what she's trying to do. She doesn't want all the pressure. Like, she just won HOH. She's a returner. She at least won one competition her season. So like she feels a target. So she doesn't want to put 2 people on the block and have one stay and win HOH. But like, just take the chance, girl. You just gotta nominate your people you want to go, because
you can't play it safe when
this
it's
might not be your this might be your only HOH. So
yeah. Because that's a good point. You can't play it safe when it's 412 because you put someone up that has expressed interest in working with you, and you're gonna without even knowing the dynamics of the house yet. You guys have yet to vote at all, and you're gonna put him in danger against someone that's you perceive to be the head of a group. So I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Like, do you think this is a bad move for Nicole, Joe, or do you think it's kind of we're blowing it up a little bit?
I think this could be a terrible move, depending on if Polly stays or goes this week. If Polly ends up being the one that leaves this week, I think Nicole's going to have probably the biggest uphill battle out of all of the veterans to stay to the jury phase, at least, even. Only because she's announced her target. Target possibly may not go. Her ally leaves. It's just this. Well, this
sounds like Big Brother
this kind of is
16.
going to make this is going to make her Big Brother 16 game look like a great gameplay. Like,
For sure. Is that alcohol?
Let's go.
Joe died.
This is Joe. But yeah, I agree. I agree with Joe.
Are we gonna wait, or
I don't know.
I like that? It's on Paul. It just sits there.
So Nicole's HOH reign, this HOH reign is definitely going to dictate how good or bad of a player she really is. That's what I think.
Yeah, I just think it's an unnecessary risk to be doing. I think it's too cute of nominations. Like, there's no reason to get cute.
Too cute.
Just put 2 people. Like, it's the same mistake that she made when Jocasta
Thank
left.
you. Thank
It's
you.
the same
Somebody
mistake.
had to say it.
Like, it is though. Like, you don't put someone on the block unless you're ready, like, willing to let them go. And if she wants Polly to go, then that's fine. But if she genuinely believes that this person wants to work with her, the last thing I would do to reciprocate that would be like, oh, okay, thank you. How about being on the block for me? Like, what? Like, if she wants him to win veto, he's just gonna use it on him. Like, you're gonna ask him to not use the veto on himself, and then you're just gonna have to nominate someone else anyway. And then it's just.
That's the thing that I wish that we got a DR from her being like, like I wouldn't mind if he
Exactly.
left because of his brother.
Yeah,
like,
'cause
that's
then-
that's all I needed to be like, all right, this move.
Yeah,
it's
but
okay, but I never got that.
It's just all, I don't want to get blood on my hands, and so I'm going to put up Polly and hope that I don't go home. I don't know. But I am interested to see what happens. We've got one more twist on the way, which I'm really excited about. And just to kind of see if this move blows up in Nicole's face, which I think the possibility is there. But that's pretty much all we have for the 2-night premiere. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do you guys have anything else you want to mention before we wrap it up? All right, well, make sure to follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Our handles are down below. Check it out. We live tweet during each episode. And yeah, stay basic, I guess.
Stay basic.
Stay basic. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.